Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this episode of Passionately Motivated, the series where we interview some of the world's most inspiring people and find out what makes them passionate and keeps them motivated. My name is Morpheus Young, aka The Creative Alchemist, and I'll be your host for today. Our goal with the series is to inspire you to follow your dreams and step into your purpose. That one thing that keeps you present and in tune with yourself, we want to motivate you to pursue it. So whether it be art, fitness, skating, dancing, design, if you enjoy doing it, you can turn it into a lifestyle. We are dreamers, not realists. We believe limits are only set as far as the mind can conceive. So be limitless, stay passionate, and get motivated. Because on this episode, we're gonna be interviewing the one and only Sheron Barber, who is the definition of rags to riches. The guy grew up in one of the poorest cities in the United States, Camden, New Jersey, and still managed to create a life of success and financial freedom for himself. He is a master of his craft and is known for reconstructing luxury leather goods into art you can wear. However, his skill set does not stop there. He's done stuff for Oneiroi, Chris Brown, Usher, Tiana Taylor, and Post Malone, just to name a few. He even did a collab with Pepsi and helped create the Call of Duty League Championship chair. So without further ado, let's hop into this episode and find out how Sheron Barber became the man that he is today. And like always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's hop into this episode. First off, I just want to say thank you for being here. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to be a part of my vision and be a part of what's about to be created, and it's an honor working with you in the past. Your energy really rubbed off the right way to me. I meet a lot of successful people in my life, and very few of them are as humble as you are. I feel like wherever you're at, for the most part, the energy that I get is you're down to earth and you're very compassionate. And I've worked with mad people that are very successful, and some of them are stuck up, some of them are pretentious or very demanding because of where they're at in life, but I don't get that vibe from you. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why you're so successful. And I really wanted you to be a part of this episode because I believe the journey that you've gone through is very unique, and I feel like a lot of people can benefit from it. Even myself, I've learned a lot from you from just the short encounters that we've had. And I believe sometimes with social media and how the world is, not everyone knows who you really are, And I just wanted to create this episode as an opportunity, one, to get to know you better, clearly, and then also to be able to understand your story and create a way for people to, genuinely take away from it,
I appreciate that. I really do. I think I'm excited. What you created here is beautiful. And I know what you're capable of. I'm excited to be a part of watching you achieve your full potential. You know what I'm saying? So, because I feel it's likewise, it's a tribe moment, where I'm okay, this person is tribe or kingdom. So I already know you got a full life ahead of you, and you're going to reach your potential, and we'll revisit this every year, every 3 years, every 5 years, and I know every time we check in, it'll be growth, you know what I'm saying? And that's,
I feel it.
For me, I like to invest in people. I like to plant seeds no matter what it is. Sometimes if it's just words of encouragement, sometimes if it's, buying somebody a camera, if it's, I just when I meet certain individuals, I just like to leave seeds behind because I know that they're going to be nurtured and they'll grow. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you're definitely one of those people. So
dude,
I appreciate
that means a lot, bro. I appreciate it so much. And I love your work ethic too and your grind. I'm really curious though, for you, out of everything that you could be doing with your life, why did you choose fashion and design? Why not be a carpenter or videographer? Why did you choose fashion?
I'm into carpentry, and I used to be a videographer and a photographer as well. So I think I never knew exactly what my actual gift is, right? Sometimes we want to rap, and it's I think my gift is to rap, or sometimes we want to dance, and it's my gift is to dance. But sometimes the gift is in the messaging. Sometimes sometimes there's an underlying thing which is where the gift actually lies. So for me, I always had ideas, and I was always creating something. And I like I like having the ability to have an idea and then use the tools around me to bring that idea to life, right? So the first time I picked up a camera and realized I could take a photo and then create a photo shoot, or I could pick up a video camera and create video, I fell in love with that concept. But in my journey, I've done different things. The reason I fell in love with fashion is, for one, because I've always loved fashion, but the major part is with fashion, every day I have an opportunity to have a new idea and to create a new garment, and I can see it through from ideation to fruition to creation. So the ability, if I could make houses, I would design houses, but to make houses, the equipment that I need and the resources that I need, they aren't available to me right now. The ability to manipulate garments is like I can manipulate garments as long as I have textiles and sewing machines. And at this point in my life, I've gotten to the point where I have the ability to acquire textile sewing machines. So I can manipulate garments regularly and daily. So as a creative, it gives me the opportunity to constantly create new things. That's why it's fashion right now. Where that stems from is like just wanting to be fly. I think when I was young, I didn't have clothes. I didn't have nice stuff. So I had to take less desirable things and make them cool. So I might have a pair of beat up jeans I'm wearing all the time. So I'll cut the jeans, bleach the jeans, paint the jeans to try to fit in or feel accepted. And then the clothing became like a language for me. Like I could speak through my garments. I could speak through what I wear. So if I was feeling angry, I might splash the paint hard. Or if I was happy, I might put hearts on the jeans. You know what I'm saying? And that became a language. So at some point, those two things met up.
That's beautiful. So it sounds like you were very resourceful and like just using whatever is around you to like kind of bring that idea to life step by step.
Absolutely. I think that's the essence of what we are as a people. Like if you give us pig intestines and collards, we're gonna give you soul food, you know. If you give us old records and disco music, we're gonna create samples that you can rap on, and we're gonna give you hip hop, you know. Even to where I do like a Louis Vuitton bag is a vertical there. Like you give me an old beat up Louis Vuitton bag, I'm gonna transform it. It could be ripped up and somebody ready to throw it in the trash. I could recreate that and give you something new. You know what I mean? Like I like the concept of alchemy. Being able to take something and transform it into something
almost transmuting
that's perceivably greater.
You're from New Jersey, from Camden. How were you able to like stay true to your vision in that environment and whatever environment after that? Because obviously where you're at now, you weren't always there. And I feel like there's a lot of people who have these dreams and want to live a certain lifestyle, and we're faced with adversity, or we're faced with certain things that literally reflect the opposite, you know? So how do you keep what's in your mind and like allow yourself to manifest that no matter what your circumstances are?
It's funny because if you had asked me that like 5 years ago, I would have completely took the credit. But like where I'm at in my life now, I'm gonna say God kept me on track. Like, because there's situations where I shouldn't have made it out of. There's situations where, you know, I always like, I used to say like, I shouldn't be here. But then I realized that's a disservice to God. Like I'm here because God wants me to be here. So I think the divine guidance, you know, like getting out the car just in time, pulling over the car just in time, you know, moving out of the city just in time, like, because there's a lot of times where it was like 1 inch away or 1 minute difference, you know, and I was like, by the grace of God, and if you look at the history, it was all over the place. If you look at my trajectory, it seems like I was all over the place. But now when I'm working on a campaign, there's a reason I could talk to the photographer a certain way, because I had a moment where I thought I wanted to be a photographer, and then there's a reason why I understand video, because I had a moment where I thought I wanted to be a videographer, and I understand the marketing because it was a moment where I wanted to be in marketing.
Wear many hats.
Yeah, but all of those things that seemed, you know, all over the place, they now play a role in this ultimate thing, and I realized like, man, God had a plan for me all along.
Yep. I believe that. And it's funny, it's like every experience that we go through, it's like kind of molding us for what's next. And sometimes we don't know what's next, but then after you reflect, like, oh, that's why I was in that situation, or that's why I was put in that job, washing dishes or whatever, because it created this work ethic, or it taught me to show up on time. It's like every chapter of our lives, it's kind of molding us to what we want subconsciously. I mean, that's how I see it, and that's kind of like what I'm taking away from what you're sharing. It's like,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
After a point, it just becomes testament. You know what I mean? Like when you in it, sometimes you can't see it. Like a friend of mine, he had a quote, and I live by the quote. He was like, when you can't see it when you in it. You know, is once you get out of it and you reflect, you be like, whoa, something magical was taking place. Because how did that happen? And I'm now like, I'm still in it, so it's things I don't see. But when I reflect back, you know, I can see a lot of from a bird's eye view. Is like, you know, there's a lot of blessings bestowed. Like some people might call it luck.
I feel that. You were mentioning something about being in situations that you shouldn't get out of. Is there any situation or like experience that you can share with us that you managed to make it through, and then like what got you through? I know you said God, but like where would mindset play in some of those situations, or maybe some tactics or like social engineering or like what did Sheron in that moment of adversity think of and do to get to the next step, you know? Because obviously you didn't give up. So it's like, what was it that you did that got you through it?
I think I've always believed in like community and kingdom development. And it's crazy because that could go two ways, right? So like I grew up in a negative environment, right? So in the black community, we don't have many industries. Like, so the first economic opportunity that was presented to me was the opportunity to sell drugs. So it's like, I want to start making money, and this is how you can start making money. I think that's what a lot of people in the communities where I grew up, that's what we face, right? It's like I didn't get an opportunity to go work at the supermarket. There is a food desert where I'm from. There's maybe only one supermarket in the whole community. There are Fortune 500 companies there, but there's no job opportunities for people like me or kids. Mm-hmm. So growing up in a poor household, I just wanted opportunity. I never thought of myself as a bad kid, and I had friends, and I never thought of them as bad people. Thanks. We was all just trying to survive and do the things that we wanted to do. So early in my life, as I started to try to create community initiatives and try to organize the people around me, the thing that I realized that I was good at was bringing people together. Community. Right? So it's like I have to try to, I'm a producer of people, a producer of things. Like, I'm like, he could rap, he could sing, he could dance, he could write. Let's form a record label. So early on, I always was good at pulling those pieces together. Mm-hmm. So I always look to pull those pieces together. And it still stands true now. Like I identify the resources and I pull them together. That's what got me to where I am now. Like that ability, that skill set, and that way of thinking.
So what would be like your recommendation for people in that type of environment? Because from what I took away, like how you were handling it, you were very resourceful in bringing people together in the community. So in the sense that made you a leader, and that gave you the influence to do pretty much what you wanted in that situation because people trusted in you. So like, if someone's in a negative environment like that, what would you recommend they do? Because for me, how I handled it, I just stayed to myself. Like I literally just stopped hanging out with people and just literally just did my own thing and just used the internet. The internet was literally what saved my life, and just social media and connecting with the right people through that. So that's what I would recommend to someone, is like try to find your tribe online. That's what I would say. But like for you, how would you recommend like people in certain environments like create a healthy ecosystem for themselves?
I think it starts at home. Try to surround yourself and like set a role model, like set a precedence for yourself. Like what type of person do I want to be? Find people like that, try to be around them people as much as possible. Try to use that person as a role model. Just try, it sounds so generic, but just like try to stay out of trouble. Just try to stay on the right path. And it's hard for us, like, because it's hard to even answer that question, because like psychologically, like hip hop, man, I love hip hop. I'm a product of hip hop. Like if I have to identify with a culture, I'm a product of hip hop. Like I grew up watching hip hop. I've made beats. I've rapped. I'm a product of hip hop. So, but one of the issues that I have with hip hop as I reflect on it now, right, is a lot of negativity that takes place culturally, and we speak about it, right? So we talk about like having sex with each other's wives. We talk about shooting, we drilling, So as a young kid, right, it's like trying to stay on the right path. Like you want to be cool, you want to be cool, you want to be accepted, and is a narrative in the culture where it's not cool to be, and it's gotten a lot better, like with I feel like people like Pharrell, people like Kanye, they've made it a lot better. But before that, like it was, only the gangster was celebrated.
True.
So the girls wanted the gangster. And if you're 13 years old and you're starting to be interested in women and the girls want the tough guy or the gangster, you're going to perpetuate that, And then when you like, what do I have to do to be tough? I got to stand out here. They want a guy with money. I'm 15. How am I going to get money now? I'm out here, I'm out here trying to get money so I can appeal to the females. Now something happens, I got to stand up for myself. I got to be tough. So I feel like culturally, us as a culture, we got to like dive in and just find ways to create better messaging for the kids. Because when I was that age, I wasn't really, I feel like I was born a good kid, right? And I was on the right path, but I was listening to music and wanting to do what was going on in the music too. Like I wasn't consciously only a good kid. I got into trouble.
I feel that.
And, you know, in my mind, I was a leader, but when I look back, I was still under the influence of the things I saw, the things I heard, and the culture that I'm a part of. I was deeply, interested in that.
Of course.
So the kids now is the same thing. They hear the drill stuff, they hear what's going on, and they now feel like if I'm going to rap,
this is the way.
This is some of what I got to do. I got to buy this, I got to wear this, I got to say that. And it's like perpetuated. So as we visit, like, who's in control of that narrative? Like, is it us? Is it the record label? We gotta take control of that narrative and deliver it to the youth. So I think it's more so our responsibility as the elders to deliver it to the youth rather than leaving it up to them to have those answers.
I feel that literally in my spirit because I feel like you only know what you're exposed to. Like, what you see around you is what you consider to be normal and true. And that's how it was for me. Like, if it wasn't for me being exposed to entrepreneurship, I don't even think my life would be how it is right now. Like, I think I would be like a broke creative videographer just chilling in my hometown, you know? And because I was exposed to the right person at the right time in my life, he took me under his wing and he taught me sales and he taught me like how to really become a hustler, you know, and like leverage these skills. So I think it's just, like you said, finding a role model. And I believe like at different chapters of our life, we emulate certain things from people and like we take, at least for me, because I can only speak on my opinion, it's like we take parts of what we like of people we admire. Like even stuff that you do, like I literally mimic it. You may not realize it, but like I'm like, oh damn, Sheron's moving like this. I see how he's acting. I like that about him. Let me see how I can apply that to myself. Like, I don't know if you realize it, but that's the influence you have on people. And same thing trickles down. It's like a whole energy cycle.
I try to own being in that space. Yeah. At times, I still have insecurities, and I know I deal with imperfections. So I think I try to control the narrative, right? Like growing up, like for me, right? Some people might think I'm boastful. Like I'll wear, because I feel like in conscious rap, right? And I'm gonna go off on a bit of a tangent. Like in conscious rap, you have the guy who doesn't wear jewelry, he wears a backpack, you know, he got on like a certain outfit. And as a kid, right, I didn't want to be like that guy. I wanted to be like the dope boy, because the dope boy had the Benz, he had the chain, he had the women, he had the clothes, you know, but he was selling drugs to get it, right? Mm-hmm. So when I see the people with the things I want, it's like, okay, we got God number one, he's a dope boy, you know. And then we got God number two, he's playing sports. Mm-hmm. And then we got God number three, and he's a rapper, and he's talking about, you know, so that's the role models that's put in place for us. But a lot of the times, it's not what the role model is doing that you fascinated. It's what the role model has that intrigues you. So I think when I started to make some money, I mean, for one, just as a black male, like I like certain things. I like jewelry, I like cars. So, but it was important for me, if I'm gonna drive this, you know, Rolls Royce or this McLaren, I want to be very, very vocal that I did not sell drugs to get this. Yeah. I did not play sports to get this. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I use my creative abilities and I turn nothing into something to get this. So I want to have that. Now it's like, that's a moment where I could tell that young man, you can get all of the stuff. I want to take ownership of that. It's not just the drug dealer who can get the car and the woman and the jewelry. Yep. You could get the diamond watch. And there's a group of conscious people that still might feel like that's irresponsible. In some ways it is, but I want to take ownership of that space. Like, we can have nice things. You don't have to be selling drugs and popping bottles to live in a nice house. You know, you could control your destiny, you could be creative. So I try to be that for our people, you know, for young creatives. Because I'm really trying to be what I didn't have. There was no blueprint. It was no book that you could read. Nobody could tell me how to start a clothing brand. Like, we talking about the 90s, the early 2000s. It was no one I could call and be like, bro, I'm trying to start this brand. Like, what should I do next? You know, it was nobody I could call and be like, I had no support. I have a couple people in my community that I looked up to that was like OGs in the community, but they was in the streets, you know, so I couldn't go to them and ask them how to be successful in the lanes that I wanted to be successful in. So now that I've achieved a level of success, I'm constantly like, let me be the person that I was looking for somebody else, you know? And I think that's what you just touched on.
Yep.
And let me control the narrative, right? Like, you don't gotta drink lean, my boy. Like,
exactly.
The chick, you don't gotta be halfway retarded for her to like you.
Exactly.
Like, you could talk to her consciously and she gonna like you for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and we the cool ones.
Yeah, I think literally, and it sounds to me like you're just being authentically you and not being like what the definition of society is to like what success should be like. Because some people get into these things for the wrong reason. It was like, oh, if I want this, I got to do that. And there's multiple avenues to it. And I feel like there's an abundance of opportunities and ways to do it, especially if you have a positive mindset. And I feel like with communities that most people are from, it's like you don't have that positive reinforcement all the time. So you're constantly going through this battle of like being positive and not, you know? At least that's how it was for me. Like a lot of my, I guess like stressors or like adversity came from more of mental states than actual physical states. Like for me, it's like always a battle of my mind and like really controlling my perception of the situation, because something can happen, but you have a choice of deciding how to look at it, you know? So it's like, how the hell do I turn this shitty ass situation into something that could keep going, that can keep me going? So that's a lot of the adversity that I deal with. And before we segue into like the more creative aspect, there's one more mindset question that I want to ask you is like, how do you handle adversity? You know, like when your back's against the wall, like what do you do to like kind of get out of that?
I've gone through phases, right? At one point, I would just fight my way out. You know, like I would just be like, you gotta keep swinging, you gotta keep going. But as I get older, it's like, I've realized that sometimes the most progressive move you can make is to stay still. Like the most progressive move you can make is to not move at all. So I think sometimes I just sit back and I meditate and I ask, you know, the universe, I ask God for assistance. Because some things is just gonna correct itself if you just steadfast and have faith. So yeah, like with adversity, like I push through, I just know it's like, I look at adversity like I'm going there. You know, I'm going there. And every day I'm gonna move in that direction. Sometimes you have to wait for something to happen before you know how you want to pivot or which direction you want to go in. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that answers the question.
No, it definitely does. So a lot of the stuff you do is pretty cool, like how you reconstruct leather. And I know like that's not the only thing you do. You have this fly line, and I'm pretty sure you're working on other stuff like you were mentioning. But where do you drive your inspiration from when you're creating? You know, when you're creating a garment, a bag, anything, like how do these ideas come to you?
Different things. Like I was just talking to, I think like one of my mentees, and I was telling them sometimes when we design to appease others and what they want and need or what society wants and needs. And sometimes we design to appease ourselves, to like we have an idea that we want to project onto the world. So sometimes there's a fault in the world or there's a fault in something and we fix the fault, and that's being of service. And sometimes we have something that we want to project into the world that may or may not be needed. And I think that's more so like ego. And the ego is necessary, but it's ego. Now, as I design, I try to be as authentic as possible. My design is utilitarian driven. I'm always thinking like, how can I make something that serves us? I aspire to redefine luxury. Like, some people look at luxury like it might be like leather or it might be fur, you know. And leather, I'm a leather worker. You know, I love the medium of leather. It's not the most ethical practice in the world. So because I make leather bags that sell for a luxury price point, I'm constantly facing like, how do I do this in a more ethical way, but still make sure that it's something that lasts 50 years. A nice leather bag is eco-friendly because a leather bag can be passed down from generation to generation. There are issues with ethics there. So I'm constantly trying to figure out how to redefine luxury. Like, how do we redefine luxury? You know, like the Tesla has redefined luxury in a sense. So when I'm designing clothing, I'm trying to think of like how the clothing can make your life easier. Does it have ventilation? Does it have flex? Can I, you know, if I ride a bike to work, can I ride a bike with this and then still wear it? Like, is it multi-use, multifunctional? So that's one thing that I visit. And I think that's the utility piece. The other thing is like aesthetic. We want stuff that looks cool, right? So I like aesthetic. And then I think the part that's authentically me is I try to pull from things that I wanted as a child, right? Like Michael Jackson had a quote where he said, not childish, but childlike. And I'm constantly trying to design for the 10-year-old version of myself who had these grand ideas and this huge imagination, but I didn't have the resources. So now that I have the resources, I'm like, what would I have done when I was 10 if I could make a bike, or if I could make a big wheel, or I could design a shirt? So I think back to the middle school version of myself, the high school version of myself. I had a big wheel, and we all wanted bikes. We wanted GTs and dynos and competitors. And then the other guys had dirt bikes. And I've always had like a fascination with like dirt bikes and motorcycles. I could think back on being in high school and just thinking that the O'Neill dirt bike and the Fox dirt bike jerseys they were so cool looking, like the graphics and then the ski goggles. It just looked like you was about to get into something.
Facts.
But the shirts was kind of fitted, and we was wearing baggy clothes back then, so you would have to buy like a 5X for it to fit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when I was revisiting like the brand, I was like, this is like a starting point as a first official collection for me. I want to make something that's true to my DNA. I wanted to borrow from that. So I just, I was like, I'm gonna make streetwear with a motocross aesthetic. I'm gonna borrow the aesthetic of motocross.
And make it streetwear.
And make it fit how I like my clothes to fit, oversized, a little baggy. But then if a lot of people, if you see the garment up close, it has like
super comfortable, by the way. It's just fire.
It's not sewn in a lot of places. It's heat bonded. I use like heat bonding technology. It's ventilation.
Oh, I see, because
it's like a ventilation system. The materials, I meshed the material used to make baseball jerseys, football jerseys, and basketball jerseys all together to make one jersey. Because I used to like to wear like jerseys like Mitchell and Ness when I was in high school, so I pulled all that together. I realized my love for utilitarianism and for functionality, comes from like, when I was a kid, I used to watch Transformers, I would watch GoBots, I would watch Inspector Gadget, and I was fascinated with like how things worked or transformed or adapted. So the first bags that I made like transformed. It might have compartments and secret passageways. And I realized my mind works that way because of like cartoons I watched growing up. Like I was heavily inspired by that. So even when you look at the line work on a shirt, it's almost like I'm thinking like, it almost looks like a transformer.
Yeah.
Like it's like just that line work and how it's.
It's definitely art, bro. You're an artist. You're an artist for sure in so many different ways, which is why it's inspiring as a creative, seeing other creatives really live their life being creative and not having to conform, because I feel like we're constantly put against the grain sometimes. We're like, yo, like, how many times I was told to like follow the normal route, and like how many times I had to like not do that, and like it was like with my parents, like everyone that I loved was telling me to do what I did not want to do. And it's like, as a creative, it's very challenging when like there's all this inside of you, but they don't see it. Like they don't see it, but you gotta keep going. And eventually someone sees you, someone sees it, and it changes. Your reality changes. And I feel like all those moments are tests. Like they're tests. You're getting tested. For you, what would you say was like the moment that you feel like you had that shift where like, damn, shit's different? Like, cause for every person that I consider to be successful, there is that one moment or experience that like changes your life.
Right. I actually think that's a misconception, right? I think from the outside looking in, not saying you're on the outside looking in, but somebody asked you the question one day is the perception that like one moment happens and everything changes. But I don't think it happens that way. I think it's a collection of moments that happen over a time span. And it's like a constant, every day, because you're working every day. Every day you're working towards something. So what happens is like, it's a collection of moments. It's thousands of moments. There is no one moment. There are great moments. They're, amazing moments, but it's always a moment before that led to that moment. But the thing is like this, right? Like LeBron James wore one of my bags last night. And LeBron James has, 100 million followers on social media? He probably has hundreds of millions of people who follow his career and his life. And I only have like, a 250,000 followers. So that's 90 plus million people who never heard of me until they seen LeBron James with the product. So if you were to ask them, they might say, well, it was LeBron James. That was the moment when like he blew up because LeBron James was wearing his bag, right? But I could tell you, 5 years ago, Tiana Taylor wore my bag. And that was like a pivotal moment, maybe bigger than the LeBron moment. Not obviously LeBron is huge, you know, but at that moment back then when Tiana wore it, right? But then I could tell you that 3 years before that, Chris Brown wore my t-shirt, you know, and 2 years before that, Jason Weaver, who plays Michael Jackson in the Michael Jackson movie, he wore my screen print t-shirt in 2010. You know what I'm saying? And I did Lil Wayne's MySpace page.
Damn, that's crazy. I didn't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like I helped work on Soulja Boy's logo.
Really?
In the early 2000s. So it's like all of those moments was making me who I am. You know what I'm saying? So I would be doing a disservice to other people who helped me in other situations that collectively got me to the point that I'm at to say that it was one moment. But I do have amazing moments. Like Quavo, right? He played like it was a chess rig that I had designed. And I was trying to change the narrative around men wearing bags. Because, you know, when, you know, especially in urban culture, like when men wear bags, sometimes they attack our masculinity. Like, oh, it's a purse, it's a MERS, are you straight? What is
soft,
that?
All this stuff, yeah.
So for years, I was trying to solve that because it was like, I make leather goods, I make bags, I want to carry items. And I developed this product that was based off of like a bulletproof vest design because I'm like, what's more macho than a bulletproof vest? Like, what's tougher than seeing 50 Cent in a bulletproof vest? So I scaled down a bulletproof vest and I created a pocket area. It was flat. And it was a solution for me. It was like, yo, this is the solution because your hands free, you know. If something happens, I have both my hands. I'm driving, I can wear it. I don't have to take it off and sit it down.
Facts.
I can ride the train with it. I don't have to worry about getting pickpocket. And it looks cool, it looks tough. So that was the moment where I had that bag. I said, this bag is special. And Quavo wore it. And when Quavo wore it, prior to that, I was making a bunch of bags and like I had done a couple customs and sold like 1 bag, 2 bags, 5 bags. But Quavo wore that bag and I sold like 150 of them in like 2 days.
Damn.
And the reason that's a really important moment for me as a person, as a businessman, and this is important messaging, I think, for all creatives, and you know, and I always say, especially for our culture. In that moment, when Quavo helped me sell 150 bags, I did something different than what most of our people do. In a lot of ways, we are looked at as communicators and marketers, and we don't own any industry, right? So if you look at a lot of us, we design, but we'll screen print on a Gildan t-shirt. So it's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of designers who print on Gildan t-shirts, but that's still a Gildan t-shirt. And that cotton comes from one place, and then Gildan makes the cotton, and then the t-shirts are made. For me, when I did this bag, I could have, when we sold 150 of them, it was a $1,200 price point. So we made like over $150,000 overnight. I could have paid another manufacturer to make those bags for me, and they would have probably been able to make them in a week or two. I would have paid the bill. I would have gave it to all the customers. But rather than do that, I used that money and I went and bought equipment because I wanted to be in control. I realized, like, if I have enough money to buy this huge dinner, right? So it's like this $150,000, I could buy this huge dinner. But I was like, rather than buying a huge dinner, I want to go buy cookware so I could cook. So at that moment, I went and bought sewing machines. I hired sewers. I spent all of that money that was generated on equipment because I realized if I have this equipment, I'll be able to make all the leather goods I want whenever I want. I won't have to go to a manufacturer. I won't have to try to explain to somebody what I'm trying to make. I could take control of it. So, you know, I'm not a fashion marketing company. I'm a fashion manufacturer. Like, I manufacture the bags. All of the bags that you see put out, all the leather goods, they're manufactured in-house on my equipment by people who work for me. I'm not going to another company asking them to like make my stuff. This is stuff that is literally made by us, you know? And that's important to me, is to take ownership. And I continue and I aspire to dive deeper and deeper into industrialism. I don't want to be a marketer or just a marketer. I don't want to be just a communicator. It's important for me to understand the industry from, like, if we dive into, like, let's say a bag, right? So a bag is made of leather. it has hardware. So that hardware is made out of metal. That metal buckle, you know, you might be buying it from France because that's where they finish it, right? But the actual metal component is made of like maybe it's aluminum oxide or zinc oxide. That zinc oxide is bought in cubes or bullion, right? And in China, they take that zinc oxide and they melt it down and they make a metal compound. And they pour it in a mold, and then from there they make the hardware. Then it's sent somewhere else where it's plated. But that metal oxide, that you know, zinc oxide or aluminum oxide is a mineral. It's coming from Africa, right? It's coming from somewhere in the ground. It's coming from India. So they're buying zinc, alloy, and then it's being shipped to another country where they put it together. Then it's making a buckle. Then that buckle is being sent to France. And then in France, that buckle is being put on a leather jacket, and then that leather jacket is being marketed by us in America, and hundreds of thousands of them are being sold. So the company that's making the jacket is making money. But imagine how much money the company that makes the buckles are making, because they're making the buckles for all of these companies. But then even further than that, imagine how much the mineral companies are making, because they're selling the zinc oxide to the company that makes the buckles. And there's only a couple companies, sometimes only one company that's in control of an entire mineral. And us as a people, we don't have that. We're not in control of the mineral. Even the minerals that come from our continent, we're not in control of those minerals. So it's important for me to get to the point where I'm as close to the root as possible. I don't want to buy apple juice. I don't want to buy apples. I want to plant seeds and grow apples, because the thing we get caught on money, like we're constantly chasing money. I want to be rich so that I can have money, but money runs out. The knowledge of how to plant a seed and grow a tree and grow apples, you'll have that forever. So if I know how to grow apples and I teach my kids how to grow apples, they'll always be able to grow apples. And if we own the land where we grow our apples, we'll always be able to grow our apples, and we'll be able to trade those apples for whatever it is that we want. And we will always be rich. We will always be wealthy. That's the root of generational wealth. That's the root of industrialism. A lot of the times we're not growing our apples. We're going to buy another man's apples, and we're putting our brand on that apple. And we say, no, I got my own apple company. But when that person wants to cut you off, when that person don't want to give you apples no more, when that person needs more money and they want to raise the price of apples, you have no control. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm always preaching to creatives, and I talk to people like, you know, and there's always a starting point. There's always a starting point. Like, I got like a mentee that I work with. His name is Haji, and I was trying to, you know, tell him to generate some money for himself, because I want to be the person for him that I didn't have when I was in high school. So I'm like, yo, start a line, you can make some money. I'll help you like create a line. So obviously in high school, he's going to start with some screen print t-shirts, because that's a good starting point. You know what I mean? But let's keep in mind the goal is industrialism.
Facts.
You know, if the shirts is made out of cotton, where are we shipping the cotton from? How can we invest into the cotton form? If it's nylon, how's nylon made? What's the minerals in nylon? How do you manufacture nylon? Because that's when you start to look at the wealth of like DuPont. DuPont owns minerals, they own compositions on how minerals are put together to develop textiles. And then those textiles is used in all kinds of products. You know, and I just want to raise the awareness and inspire a generation of young creatives who think in that way. So 10 years from now, we do own industry, you know, and not just one person, because you might be in control of the mineral. I might be the company that buys the mineral and turns it into the buckle. And our other brother might be the guy who's, you know, putting that buckle on the jacket. But I do want us as a human family, as a culture, to be in control of some of those resources.
No, that's well said, and I think it's very profound. It's just like going straight to the source is super, super important. And what's standing out to me right now is like I was watching a video about you, and you were saying something along the lines of like, I'm obsessed with like how things are made and like where things come from. And that's literally showing like right now. And like, it's not just like about just having this phone, but what's inside this phone. What are they using to get this to connect to my Wi-Fi, you know? So that's just dope. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why you're so successful, because some people would be so quick to jump the gun and just want the end product, but they're not really correlating how that end product came into fruition. And that's super, super dope. So thanks for sharing that, man. My next question was gonna be is, how do you remain so humble with like the success that you are like attracting into your life? Because in the beginning of this episode, I've said that I've worked with multiple people that were successful, but sometimes their pretensions or like their ego is like really big, you know, and it's just kind of doesn't make someone want to work with them. For you, how do you manage to, wherever life is taking you, how do you stay like relatable and like, you know, like, damn, like he's cool?
I just practice being the person that I want to meet. Like I said, I practice being the mentor that I didn't have. I practice being, you know, the investor that I wasn't able to find. I practice being having humility that I didn't experience at certain moments. So it's like when I meet, because I meet those same people. So when I meet that pretentious person, it's like, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with that guy? Like, you know, and I don't judge people. I think everybody's the same. Everybody has the equal amount of struggle, no matter how you grew up, in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes you could think a person got a great life, but the mental and emotional struggle that they endure is no different than the physical struggle that another person is enduring. I think human plight, we all experience struggle, and is, you know, that struggle makes different people behave in different ways, right? So that guy who's egotistical, or that guy who's, you know, just a jerk, it's a reason why he's that way. He might have got bullied in school. He might not have got the girl he wanted, so now he feels like he got to go the extra step to be a tough guy. It's always an underlying reason. So for me, as I obtain like more security with like who I am, it's like I never have to like defame another person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if I'm not tough, I have to sit up here and try to make everybody else, make it seem like I'll punk everybody. You know what I'm saying? And it's like because I'm trying to prove that I'm tough. But if you're actually tough, you don't have anything to prove. The fact that you're trying to act tough just really showcases your insecurity. So I think those people, those celebrities who act that way is because they think that's how they're supposed to act. Because at some point, somebody probably treated them that way. They met their favorite person, and their favorite person treated them bad. So it's like that's how you do. You gotta treat people bad, and then that's their course, you know. And we just gotta stop celebrating those people, you know. Because when we get into celebrity, I tell people, you can't be a celebrity if people don't celebrate you. So you know, I try to be the person who I would like to meet, the person who I would like to encounter, because I'm constantly like, if I'm the person who I would like to encounter, I know for a fact it's tens of millions of young men who are looking for the same thing, you know. So I try to be that, and it's scary because I'm not perfect. At any given moment, I could do something wrong, and you know, it's people who may want to discredit everything that I've worked for because of one instance, and that's another struggle with like, you know, cancel culture and people having stuff to say. But you know, that's why I'm extroverted, and I try to be as transparent as possible because I'm not perfect, but I aspire to be a good person. I aspire to be a humanitarian. I aspire to be philanthropic. I try to help people around me as much as possible.
That's beautiful, man. I feel that. It seems like with what you're saying, it's like you reflect a lot. I'm picking up that you reflect, because if you're saying I want to show up as like who I wanted, or I want to show up as, or I don't want to show up as this, is like that means you're observing and you're also reflecting, and then you're making adjustments and acting accordingly, and that's why you're just being self-aware. So to me, like, I would want to know, like, how does that tie into spirituality? Because my intuition is telling me that, like, you have a spiritual side which is guiding you through these circumstances. So, like, what role would spirituality play in your success, do you believe?
Man, you know, I don't want to dive too far off the deep end, but like I'm extremely spiritually aware. Like sometimes I'm more spiritually aware than I am physically aware. So I do believe in like self-awareness, but my highest self is my spiritual self. So like even right now, like I was telling one of the, you know, people helping produce the show out there, like when I was coming on the show, like I don't have a haircut, like I haven't had a shape up. You know, I paint my nails. I haven't been painting my nails. I haven't been dyeing my hair. Like I look rough right now, right? But it's crazy because I feel amazing because I've been in such a in such an internal, introspective space. Like I'm on my 40 days and 40 nights. Like, so it's like, I might not, I didn't have time to go get a haircut. I didn't have time to go get a nail because I've been exploring like my mind and I've been exploring my spirituality. And I think I'm never, any answer that I'm looking for, like, and, I love people and I do have advisors and mentors that I reach out to. But for the most part, any question that I have or anything I'm looking for, the first place I go is within, right? Like I'm always looking within. I'll fast. I don't want to be under the influence of sugar. I don't want to be, I should fast more because I need to drop some of this weight. But sometimes I don't want to be under the influence of meat because those enzymes is causing my brain to act a certain way. Sometimes I don't want to be under the influence of caffeine or sugar. So I don't want to be under the influence of liquor. Sometimes I don't want to be under the influence of lust. So I'll remove all of those things so that I'm like the best version of myself. Like I may do a dry fast where I'm not even having water. Like it's like 3 days I haven't had water, food, or showered, and I'm just like in the deepest part of thought that I can be in. And I feel like at that moment is when you silence everything, and that's when like the spirit connects to the source and you start to communicate with like, your higher self. Your higher self starts to communicate with God and you tap into like collective consciousness. And I play in that space. And it's crazy because like when I'm, I could take credit for the designs and I talk about my childhood and things like that, but the designs that do the best for me are the designs that are delivered to me by God, and I'm just a vessel. Like
you're channeling almost.
Yeah, like I have moments where God shows me things and I'm like, do I have your permission to project this into the world? Like, and it's like, yeah, that's why I'm showing it to you. And then now my challenge as a producer and a collector of people and processes is like, this is what I was shown. Who can help me make a plastic mold? And who can help me with this leather component? Who can help me with this technology component? But I'm ultimately just serving God. I'm trying to project what I was shown in a vision. Because when you have those ideas, where do you think they come from? Like, you don't.
Yeah, facts. I'd be wondering the same
like
thing.
I might have, that's why I don't get too caught up in like current events, because that's what the world is giving you to think about.
Yeah.
When you silence all that and you go within, and I'm just sitting here now and it's like, whoa, I just had a vision for a vehicle that doesn't move around on four wheels. It like hovers on spheres. Like, how can I make that real? That's to me, that's God. That's the spirit connecting with consciousness saying like, hey, work on this. So I think my spiritual plight is I give it all to spirit. I'm spiritual. Like I'll go to a country where they saying it's dangerous, and I just float through there so peacefully, like I'm good.
Your
Like
aura
ain't
is
nobody
keeping
gonna
you
touch
protected,
me.
yeah.
Like if you touch me, you could like you gotta be crazy.
No, I feel you 1,000%. It's like your energy is keeping you guided throughout.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying earlier, it's just like you got out at the right time. Like the moment you left, then something happened. Or like it's just like God's always like watching you. And those are the people that I feel like are meant to do something on this planet. And like we're divinely guided. It's like God will protect the people who are here to spread light and just do what they're meant to do. And I feel like that's what you're saying. So it doesn't really matter. It's like you're like more so of the thermostat than the thermometer. It's like you kind of create the environment, the energy flows where you are versus like being in a room and letting that project onto you, So I think that's super dope. What are some things that you are kind of working on now or that you want to bring to life next? Like what are some visions that you want to see manifest into your reality?
So, like fashion is important to me, and that's been the vehicle thus far. But tapping back into the spirituality, I was in Milan and I was spending some time alone. I was there. I ain't know anybody there, and I was just praying and meditating and fasting. Sometimes I work hard, and when I'm working and it's not working, I work harder. And then when it's not working, I work harder.
Double down.
And then when I don't have any energy left, I just fall to my knees and I pray and I fast and I pray and I fast. And I was having one of those moments in Milan, and God picked me up and was like, I'm calling you now. And he, and the messaging that I received was that when I talk about God, I feel like God is a feminine energy more than the masculine energy.
I feel that.
Maybe it embodies both, but for me, it's always an embrace. It feels like my mom talking to me, or like a woman.
Like a nurturing type of essence.
When she visited me, it was like, it's time for you to build the thing that's going to really matter, and it's time for you to build a school or a church or academy, and it's time for you to do my work, and the clothing line and the stuff you're doing is not going to get canceled out. It's going to be merch for the work that you do for me. Like, people are going to appreciate what you're doing because of the work that I'm going to have you doing for me. And I immediately understood because, again, the teaching that I needed didn't exist. The resources that I needed, I wasn't able to collect. Like, I've gone all over the world trying to collect resources. I've gone all over the world looking for information. And as I'm collecting that information, I feel like it's my divine duty to deliver it, right? So when I think about my life goal and my life path and what I have to offer humanity is I have the ability, and a lot of us have the ability, but I've been able to tap into my ability to have an idea. A lot of people have ideas and they don't know how to act on it. They don't know how to bring it into fruition. For me, when I have an idea, I don't know how not to act on it. Like, if I have an idea to make a desk, I now have to make a desk. And it may not be made by my hands, but I'm going to find out where they make desks, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to say, I have an idea for a desk, and I'm going to use another person's hand to make my desk. And I'm going to use what we talked about earlier, and I'm going to learn everything about a desk, figure out how desks are made, and then I'm going to enter a desk into humanity. So now that I've collected a lot of these resources, it's like, how do I now hand these resources off? When I look at the world, everything around us is being made. The hat is made, the chain is made, the boots are made, the lights are made, the outlets, everything is being manufactured. And everything in the world that's being manufactured started as an idea. So when we think about art, and when we think about artists, we always think about like a painting. We always think about graffiti. We always think about a sketch. But everything on this, other than the things that God makes, but everything that man has created on this planet started as an idea. It was just in the brain. And we said we don't know where that comes from. It's just in the brain. Like, who decided to make an electrical outlet? Who decided to make a film lens? The idea just came from the ether, right? And that maybe it starts as a sketch. Maybe it starts as a sculpture. Maybe it starts as a science experiment. And then from there, you start to develop, tests. And now you have like prototypes and products. And now, maybe it's a product that cures cancer. Maybe it's a product that, changes, the fire hydrant. Maybe it's an update to the fire hydrant design. But that product can now be replicated and put out to the world. So it's like all types of answers and solutions and businesses there. So I want to teach young people. I want to teach all people, particularly young people at a very young age, how to harness that energy of encapsulating their idea and using different methods and mediums to bring those ideas out into the tangible world, out into the physical world, to create businesses, to create multiple streams of revenue, and to hopefully change humanity. So when I talk about the school that I want to build, maybe Haji has an idea for a leather jacket, but he don't have the resources for a leather jacket. But I have an artisan in there that's been making leather jackets for 40 years and all the equipment he needs to facilitate his idea. Maybe this person wants to develop a couch, but he doesn't have the resources. He can come there and I have a master furniture maker. And I want to focus on design. I want to focus on science, math, agriculture. People who want to, come up with new farming methods. Like, and this is the thing, I feel like this school is not my school. I don't want it to be like the Sheron Barber School. The school is a testament that God is real, because I feel like the proof that God exists, every time you have an idea and you use the things on this planet to bring that idea to life, is physical evidence that God is real, because something that was non-existent was brought to life. It's like planting a seed. Every time you plant a seed and a tree grows that produces fruit, is we don't understand it all the time, but there's no better proof that God is real. So the school is just to stand testimony. And one of the first things that I'll be making at the school and teaching people how to make it to school, and obviously still being a student myself, will be like garments. So that's what I'm building. I can't say that I'll be done tonight or
of course,
a year from now. I know that's my life work. And you know, hopefully when I start building it, you know, I know another phrase that I've lived by is like, if you build it, they'll come.
Yep, literally.
So, and I've lived by that my whole life. So that's what I'm building, and I need help. You know, I need a community. I need as much help as I can get to build it. It's not an egotistical thing. It's for all people. It's not just for Christians. It's not just for Muslims. It's not just for religious people. It's just a incubator, you know, where creative concepts could come to life as a testimony that there is something collective that brings us all together.
Well, I just want to share with you that I'm down to help you with this mission. I have experience doing stuff like that. Maybe we could chat more about it, but the vision that you're sharing right now, I'm all for it, because it aligns with my personal mission, and my personal mission is to spread human consciousness and awareness and spread love and light through creativity. So this, to me, sounds like a huge opportunity for me to use my gifts, my connections, and my resources to help facilitate that. So maybe we can figure out a way to, like, you know, collaborate. But I see the vision, and I'm down for it. So definitely thank you for that, you know. And then maybe some people watching this video, if you guys like what we're saying, maybe you can comment or email us and figure out a way to be a part of the mission that Sheron is talking about right now. That covers a lot of questions that I had on my mind. Is there anything else that you want to share that's on your mind or on your heart before like we move forward?
No, I think that's it.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Passionately Motivated. And again, thank you, Sheron, for being here. Like, bro, like, it means a lot. This is literally the beginning of a series that I know is going to impact the world, and it's an honor to have you on here, and I'm excited to be able to have this as like history between us, and excited to see where things happen. I mean, what things happen in your future and in my future, our future collectively, and hopefully you guys watching this video at home took away something. And if there's anything I can say before we end this episode, is to take action on your dreams and know that one thing that you're passionate about, follow it. And it doesn't matter whether it's art, business, design. If you enjoy doing it, you can turn it into a lifestyle. We are dreamers, not realists. We believe limits are only set as far as the mind can conceive. So be limitless, stay passionate, and get motivated. And again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.